friends, it's Miss Fryling. So to start our fun Friday off, I figured why not do a STEM activity? A little hands-on, a little fun, and we get to be creative. So today's activity is going to be all about building bridges. So the first thing I want us to do is go gather up some materials around our house. While you do that, I'm just going to hang out. But these building materials can be anything. They can be things that you might already have, like building blocks. They can be cans of soup. It can be boxes. It can even be empty. Recyclable materials, paper, popsicle sticks, anything that you have lying around the house can be a building material for your bridge. So go ahead, grab your stuff.
Baby shark do 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 do, baby shark do 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 do, baby shark. Mommy shark do 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 do, mommy shark do 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 do, mommy shark do 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 do, mommy shark.
Daddy shark do 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 do, daddy shark do 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 do, daddy shark do 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 do, daddy shark.
Grandma shark do 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 do, grandma shark do 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 do, grandma shark do 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 do, grandma shark.
Grandpa shark do 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 do, grandpa shark do 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 do, grandpa shark do 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 do, grandpa shark. Let's go hunt do 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 do, let's go hunt do 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 do, let's go hunt do 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 do, let's go hunt.
Run away do 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 do, run away do 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 do, run away.
Now that you have your materials, it's time to get started. So how I want to start off today's lesson is with one of my favorite books. It's called Iggy Peck, Architect. Let's jump right in. Iggy Peck, Architect by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. Iggy Peck, Architect. Young Iggy Peck is an architect and has been since he was 2, when he built a great tower in only an hour with nothing but diapers and glue. "Good gracious, Ignatius," his mother exclaimed, "that's the coolest thing I've ever seen." But her smile faded fast as a light wind blew past, and she realized those diapers weren't clean. "Ignatius, my son, what on earth have you done? That's disgusting and nasty. It stinks." But Iggy was gone. He was out on the lawn using dirt clods to build a great sphinx. When Iggy was 3, his parents could see his unusual passion would stay. He built churches and chapels from peaches and apples, and temples from modeling clay. At dinner one night, to his father's delight, Iggy got a bright gleam in his eye, and out on the porch built the St. Louis Arch from pancakes and coconut pie. Dear Ig had it made until 2nd grade, when his teacher was Miss Lila Greer. On the very first day, she had this to say: "We do not talk of buildings in here. Gothic or Romanesque, I couldn't care less about buildings ancient or new." She said in her lecture about architecture that it had no place in grade 2. That might seem severe, but she was sincere, for when she was no more than 7, she'd had a great fright at a dizzying height in a building so tall it scraped heaven. On an architect's tour of the 95th floor, young Lila got lost from the group. She was found 2 days later in a stuck elevator, eating cheese with a French circus troupe. After that day, it's quite safe to say she thought all building lovers were nuts. As a teacher, she taught that above all one ought to avoid them. No ifs, ands, or buts. As you might guess, it would cause Iggy stress to hear such terrible talk. But he didn't hear. He sat in the rear while building a castle of chalk. "You, Iggy Peck, your desk is a wreck. Tear down that castle right now. You will not build in here. Is that perfectly clear? Do you need to see Principal How?" "No, ma'am," Iggy said. He lowered his head, and his heart sank down to the floor. With no chance to build, his interest was killed. Now second grade was a bore. After 12 long days that passed in a haze of reading, writing, and arithmetic, Miss Greer took the class to Blue River Pass for a hike and an old-fashioned picnic. They crossed an old trestle to a small island nestled in the heart of a burbling stream. But they no sooner passed than the footbridge collapsed and Miss Lila Greer started to scream. "We're trapped here, oh my! Alas, kids, goodbye!" Her eyeballs rolled back in her head. She dropped to the ground with a vague groaning sound. Ugh. Luckily fainted, not dead. The class was amazed. They stood there quite dazed, uncertain of what they should do. But one bright young man was off hatching a plan, which started with Miss Lila's shoe. Soon each lad and lass there at Blue River Pass was working together as one. And when she came to, Miss Lila Greer knew that something quite brave had been done. She looked in the air and saw hanging there a structure with cables and braces. And on the far side, beaming with pride, were 17 smiling young faces. Boots, tree roots, and strings, fruit roll-ups and things, some of which one should not mention, were stretched ridge to ridge in a glorious bridge, dangling from shoestring suspension. It all became clear to Miss Lila Greer as she crossed that bridge over the stream. There are worse things to do when you're in grade 2 than to spend your time building a dream. Now every week at Blue River Creek, elementary and second grade, all the school kids can hear, along with Miss Greer, how the world's greatest buildings were made. The weekly guest speaker in t-shirt and sneakers talks of buildings from Rome to Quebec. Of course, he's the guy who builds towers from pie, that brilliant young man, Iggy Peck. Now we need some inspiration. So since we read Iggy Peck Architect, the only thing that's left is field trip! This amazing bridge is the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's located in California, so right in the United States. And if you look at those big red arches, you can tell right off the bat that this is a suspension bridge. It uses all of those suspensions for support and strength for this bridge, and it is beautiful. Now here we are at our next bridge, and this is also a suspension bridge. This is the Tower Bridge in London. So we've traveled across the Atlantic Ocean now, and we are in England. Now if you look, the Tower Bridge still has those suspensions, but it also has these two huge towers, which adds even more support and strength to this bridge. Pretty spectacular. Now our next bridge is the Alcantara Bridge, and this is located in Spain. So we're back now in Europe, not too far from London, and we're in Spain. So this bridge is an arch bridge. You can tell by that arch design. Now the arches actually give this bridge a tremendous amount of strength because it has all of those individual supports. And our last bridge, we are going to Australia. We are here at the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is also an arch bridge, but this is a steel through arch bridge. And you can tell that the design is slightly different than the arch bridge that we saw in Spain, but still massive. And you can see how they are using all of these different techniques to make this bridge so strong. So now that we have some inspiration, let's go back and let's start. Now that we've been inspired by Iggy, we have great inspiration from those famous bridges. Now it's time to start. Let's start off with our engineering design process. Ask, imagine, plan, create, test, and improve. So with these 6 steps, we'll be able to successfully create our bridge today. So let's start with our first one. Ask, what is the problem that needs to be solved? Well, it's a bridge, so we have to get from one side to the other side by creating a safe structure. Now the next one is imagine. Think about the ways that you can solve this problem. we looked at many different types of bridges, and we know that with STEM, there's not just one way to solve a problem. So we can think of many ways to solve this problem, but which one do we think is going to be the best way to solve this problem? The third step is plan. So when we make a plan, we're figuring out what exactly we need, materials, and we're planning the steps to actually solve our problem. So I want you to take this time right now, grab a piece of paper, a piece of notebook paper, and actually plan your design. I'm going to go grab mine. Remember, when you're planning, it's always a good idea to write your materials down as well, so that this way you know what you're doing. So here's a quick sketch of my first bridge idea. I know I want to do an elevated bridge, so I'm going to use 2 of my soup cans and a piece of paper to connect them both. It's simple, it's easy, and I can do it quickly. Then the next part is create. Now we have our plan. It's time to create our bridge. So using my plan, I'm going to follow it and I'm going to create my bridge. So I have my soup cans. I'm going to use 2 and 2. Then I have my paper. I think I'm going to fold my paper. Maybe it'll be a little stronger. So I followed my plan and this is my bridge. But did I do a good job? Let's see if it can hold my pen. So my bridge can hold my pen, so that's good. So we're testing now. We're testing in our engineering design process. Now, let's see if it can hold maybe a car. That wouldn't make a good bridge. So let's go to our final step of our engineering design process, improve. How can we improve this design? Well, it held the pen fine. The pen is smaller and lighter than a car. But if I want my passengers to be able to cross a bridge safely, I need to make sure that this structure is supported and strong. So I'm going to think back to some of those bridges that we went and saw earlier, and I'm going to think about maybe how I can use my same materials in a new way. And remember, you still have your paper. If you need to plan this out again, go through all the engineering design steps again to make sure that you have a clear vision for what you're going to do. Let's see. So it didn't really support in the middle with the paper. So what if we make our whole base design stronger? This way it can be longer too, and we evenly space those. And then we can take our paper now. This looks pretty good, but I know that cardboard is even stronger than paper. So I'm going to break up my cardboard box. Remember, you can always get an adult to help, but I'm not using any scissors. I'm just kind of ripping my stuff up. So here's my cardboard. I'm going to take my strips of cardboard and I'm going to lay them down to create a nice, strong base here. Okay, so now I have my bridge. So let's see if this bridge can hold my pen. Let's test. So this bridge can hold my pen. Let's see if this bridge can hold my car. Much better. I have a much sturdier base, which has made my bridge so much stronger. Now, once you test it, how much can your bridges hold? So I want you guys to try this now. If you go to my Google Classroom page, you'll see an assignment that's called Building a Bridge, and you can find more directions and all these steps right on there. So if you need help, go back to Google Classroom, rewatch this video, and make sure to send me your pictures because I want to see the amazing work that you guys are doing at home. I miss you so much. Thank you for watching. Bye, friends.